channel. My name is Aria and today I'm going to share with you my first year second term portfolio for animation production at Arts University Bournemouth. I'm back at uni right now. I'm in my accommodation, as you can see. I've got a studio this time, which is really nice. If you've seen my room tour video, yeah, sharing accommodation wasn't as great because of how messy the kitchen got at times, so I'm really glad I have my own space now, but really glad to be back. And I've already started the second year and it's going really well actually. We're doing a lot of group work and group projects and there's lots to come, so I'll be sharing all of that with you too. But in the meantime, I'm gonna catch up on what I did last year and share that all with you. So just to recap, in case you haven't seen the previous video, the animation portfolio has been split into 3 parts because I have 3 terms at university, and this is the second portfolio that I created last year. In this portfolio, the focus is life drawing and character design. So there's a lot of life drawing that I did in the studio and a lot of character design work that I did in my own time at home. There's more self-directed study work in this portfolio because last year, because of COVID, we weren't in university as much, but there's still a lot of work that I created. Sometimes you just forget, like you think, oh, I didn't do that much, but then when you actually put it all together, there's quite a bit. And character design is something that I really love. It's something that I want to pursue more. So to introduce this unit to you guys, it's called Staging and Performance. So the focus was acting and how to exaggerate poses for your characters, and it was really the whole unit was like a whole workshop dedicated to character design, which I absolutely loved. So I can't wait to show you everything that I've done. So I'm going to start off with life drawing work. The first life drawing activity that we had was an acting workshop, which was pretty cool. So in this acting workshop, we'd have a model pose and perform these exaggerated poses for us to draw. So it would be a very simplistic drawing, just showcasing the pose that they were creating, and we'd have to do that in like within a minute, and we just quickly roughly sketch that all out, and this helped with posing and exaggerating our characters' poses. One of the projects we had was to make a sack, like a rice sack, come to life. So this helped with our panto sack animation, which is basically a rice sack that we had to animate and then create a personality for the sack, because a rice sack itself is pretty much an inanimate object, but in this task we had to like make them walk and make the sack jump and, you know, maybe interact with the other sacks that we had in a background that we were given by the university, and it allowed us to just play with animation and really take on what we learnt in the previous unit, which was fundamentals of animation. Towards the end of this video, I'll share what the animation looked like, but it was a lot longer than the other animations that I made in the first term, but it was still a really fun project, even though it took forever to do. This task did help me with my panto sack animation because it allowed me to be a bit more free and make my drawings less static and look more human, so that would translate very well when you know, using those principles that I learned in that class onto my rice sack to make it look more alive. And it did help because I had when I started that task, I found it quite hard to make my animation fluid because I was like, my drawings were less rough. And what I learned, especially in the first year, was to be rough when animating. Last year and also this year, we'll be working with 2D traditional animation with paper. So we had to be quite rough because we're drawing the same thing over and over and over again without the help of technology. So it's harder to make adjustments later on, so it's easier to work rough from the beginning, and it did make the animation more fluid and easier to read when watching it. So for the next life drawing task that I did, it was called Line of Action in Shorthand, and for this class itself I wasn't actually there, but I did it from home. And essentially what they did in that class was had the model that was in the life room stand in front of the class and pose in different ways, and we'd quickly sketch their pose and try out different lines and different shapes and use different types of mediums. So I used a bit of charcoal, fine liner pen, and also a brush pen that we were given last year in like a little goodie bag, which was really nice. They also gave a goodie bag this year too, which is really cool. So it's like every year you get like a little present at the start of the year with a bunch of art supplies, which is great. But yeah, that's basically what we did in that session. And yeah, it was a lot of, again, fluid drawings. The aim is to draw quickly and to like not focus too much on really small details. You just want to get the overall shape and get that right, perfect that before going on to anything else. And just understanding the human form, which is essentially what life drawing is. When you have a model in front of you, you're looking at their body and trying to recreate that in a drawing. And that's what we did in that class. Yeah, which was fun because we got to use different mediums instead of just pencil all the time. The next life drawing task we had was called In the Style of an Artist. And the artist that I picked again was Egon Schiele, which I recreated his artwork in my previous portfolio in the previous video. And Egon has a lot of work which, a lot of life drawing work which is all nude, and the lines that he uses are really thin, and I used him as inspiration and created a lot of other life drawing pieces using his style of work, like his drawing style, I guess his technique, and use like very thin lines, and using those thin lines create added details, so like hair and details with the body. And with this task I didn't take the pen off the page. I sort of tried to at least create the majority of the drawing without taking the pen off the page, because I think that's how Egon may have worked. With a lot of his drawings, the lines are very close together, there's barely any gaps, and I recreated his pieces. As I'm looking at my portfolio now, I need to make a correction. I said that there's a lot of life drawing in my portfolio, which is true, but it also does come under self-directed work because a lot of the time I was working from home, and yeah, we weren't in the studio as much last time. So now, knowing this information, I'm going to move on to self-directed study work because it all links with the life drawing, and then afterwards I'll go through the studio work that I did. So moving on, the next task that I did was called Online Sport, and again, this is self-directed work. We were told to look at a lot of different sports people and dancers as well, and basically recreate their poses with quick sketches, not really including any facial detail or much other detail other than their pose. We weren't told to not draw any detail at all, but like very rough, fluid drawings to just get us into the habit of drawing very fluidly. So yeah, the drawings that I did about, I'm looking right now, 1, 2, 3, 4 drawings, and yeah, just trying to make them as fluid as possible, very sketchy, just to get the point across, and so that when you look at it, you know what sport or you know what they're doing. So the different sports that I chose to look at was footballers, tennis players, basketball players, and to add a little bit of culture to my portfolio, I am Indian, I'm South Indian. Chose to look at a dancer, so I picked Bharatanatyam, which is a type of dance in India, and I used that for inspiration and did a drawing based on a Bharatanatyam dancer that I saw online. So the next self-directed piece is called Heads. It's where you just drew a bunch of heads, but like really broke it down. So we drew like essentially cuboids and broke the face down into like squares to like understand the structure of a head and a head in general. So I drew a page of heads and cuboids. Yeah, it's to understand perspective, and I think I found that pretty tricky, not gonna lie, because I don't often put too much detail when I draw heads. I just do like a circle and then the rest just comes to me. But this really allowed me to think of perspective and realistically draw a head, because one thing I probably should work on is drawing realistically. I've always just had like a knack for drawing things in a cartoony style ever since I was really young. Whenever people would look at my drawings, they'd always think it looked very cartoony. So, you know, being an animator now and wanting to work for the cartoon industry one day, it's very fitting for me. So this was a challenge. The next task was called Eye Studies, and as you can tell from the title, it was just me drawing a bunch of eyes, taking inspiration from pictures I found online, and just drawing them. Literally picked a bunch of different eye shapes and eyes and drew them. Trying to be very realistic again. I did 2 nose studies, one which was like very quick, very sketchy again, of someone's nose, some stock image found online, and then I did like a digital version, finally, some digital stuff. A little digital painting of a nose. I'm still surprised I got it to look like this. And lastly, we focused on lips. So I did a bunch of lip studies. Well, not that many. I did 3. I don't know, I didn't really enjoy these tasks as much. I think it was just too realistic for me. So yeah, I did a couple of lip studies, used circles to help me draw the lips realistically. Again, very quick sketches, not much detail, but there you are. Oof. I scrolled down and I remembered, I've gotta show this. So one of the tasks we had to do was draw a self-portrait, and again, realistic stuff. Yeah, so I drew a self-portrait of myself. I did it digitally on Krita. Yeah, I'm not too happy with this drawing at all, but I encourage myself to show pieces of work that I'm not proud of as well, because it just shows my journey as an artist. Here it is. So this is my self-portrait. Does it look like me? I don't know, but yeah, I did a self-portrait of myself on Krita, taking on board everything that I kind of learned from the head, eyes, nose, and lip studies that I just showed you. I'm reading the notes that I did for my portfolio for the lecturers to see, and I wrote, quote, "I found it more difficult to draw a complete portrait as it was on a larger scale, more detailed, and something I have not tried before." I was being very honest. This is very different from what I normally do. I'm sure you can see from my profile picture and some of my thumbnails and stuff how I draw myself in my cartoon stylized. But realistically, I do find it a little bit harder. So again, something to work on, right? Next in my portfolio, I had a task called environment design, and this was a task where we had to draw a bunch of little thumbnail drawings of different areas of your room. So I think they wanted something like, God knows, 40 something drawings. I don't think I drew 40 because I had a tiny little room and I kind of found it a bit hard to find new and interesting things to draw. But I drew different parts of my room with different perspectives, and just try to find new and interesting things in my room to draw. But that was the brief, just to draw, look around your room and draw things in your room as it is. Didn't have to tidy it up, just drew things the way it was in my room. So that was the task. I think this task was to understand perspective, which, if I didn't mention in my last video, perspective is just something I know is important, but I need to improve on, and I don't find it that fun to do. Yeah, perspective is a little tricky. When we really like as soon as we started first year, we got straight into it. They just threw perspective on me, and I was just taken aback because I found it quite difficult. And I'm not the only person that finds perspective difficult. The lecturers were saying that they also found it difficult, and they do still find it difficult, and it is something that's quite tricky to understand. But yeah, I need to spend more time on that. Perspective is just difficult. I thought I had something more to say, but it's just difficult. Now I shall take you to the studio work that I did last year. So the first studio task that I did was called costume designs, where we got some of the costume designs from the costume students in our university, and we got to see their work in our classroom, and we just sat and drew their masterpieces, their different outfits that they had created. So for this task I did about 2, but I put a lot of time, a lot of effort that day, really drawing the outfits that they had created. And yeah, I was quite impressed with what I came up with in the end, like the outcome of my work, because I just really sat down. Like, one of the dresses had a lot of crazy creases everywhere and like a lot of layers, so I really wanted to capture that. And personal target of mine is to work on lighting and shadows, so I try to convey that in my drawing as much as possible with the lighting in the studio, and I think I did a good job. So yeah, this is my work, and yeah, I did 2 of those and I'm very happy with them. Yay! Now, getting into the character design stuff, the next task is called character design artist study. So for this artist study, I chose to study the work of Craig Bartlett, who you may know as the creator of Hey Arnold on Nickelodeon. So you may be wondering why I chose Craig Bartlett's work to study, and I'm a really big fan of Hey Arnold, but another thing that I really love about his characters are that their heads are different shapes. Like, every character has a really unique silhouette and head shape. So Arnold, you know, being a football head, is a very interesting shape to start with, and everyone's shape is just really interesting. So I just did a page of really fan art, but just dissecting the different shapes in the characters in Hey Arnold. And yeah, it was just a page of picking out different features of the characters and writing down like what shape they were and what they mean. So overall, just dissecting those characters, and yeah, it was very fun. I hadn't drawn any Hey Arnold stuff in a while, so that was quite nice to do in studio. And then after drawing Arnold and the other characters, I then drew myself in the style of Hey Arnold as well. So I drew myself in my lovely pink SpongeBob hoodie and with my hair up, with my hoop earrings, just my iconic look. And I love her, she's gorgeous. So now I'm going to move on to the character design workshop that we had. So for this little workshop we had, we did quite a lot of drawings. So firstly, we had to bring like a random object from home. I brought like I guess like a little lotion bottle. Not a lotion bottle. Yeah, I guess it is like a lotion bottle, you know, with like a top where you could just press down and then lotion will come out. Oh. But yeah, like a little lotion bottle. And with that bottle, you had to create a character. And yeah, I don't know, I just looked at the bottle and it kind of looked like a bird. It gave me like Rivali vibes from Breath of the Wild. So I drew that bottle as like a bird, did a couple sketches of it, different angles, because the top looked like a beak. Ugh, I wish I had it with me, but you'll see in the drawings. So for the next task, for the same workshop, we had to put different shapes together and see what kind of characters we could create from that. So I'd put like you know, circle or an oval and a square, triangle all next to each other and see what that would create. So I did a page of that, just playing around with different shapes and seeing what I could come up with, maybe exaggerate certain shapes, maybe make the triangle super duper long and have like a really tiny oval. That was like one of the ones that I did, to just, you know, play around with silhouette, play around with character design, because that was what the class was about. And using those designs, we then had to like create a character with that design. I don't know if the brief was to make like a strong character. I think that was what it was. So I did like a couple drawings and then I put together like this buff, strong looking character, female character, with like triangle and like a semicircle for a head, a huge triangle for a chest, and like wide triangle legs. So she was just like super buff. She had little triangles as like little ponytails, you know, Helga style. Again, Hey Arnold influence. And that was just a character that I made on the spot. Then we had to like stretch the character's face, so draw them normally and then stretch it out to see what we could create with that. So like a really elongated head, and then I put the mouth at the bottom just to see what that would look like. And then I drew the character if they were super tall and skinny, or like super wide but short and squashed, and just playing around with all the different shapes. But I did that digitally. And then again with the heads, just pulling and squashing and squeezing, just playing around with the character, seeing how I could just exaggerate the character as much as I could. And then in the end, that was the character, drew her digitally, showing the different shapes that I used. And then I also created this robot character as well. Trying to find the work that I had for this character, like all the preparatory work for that character, but using a semicircle, I guess, and triangles and like an oval for a body. I created this little robot character, which was another mini brief that we had as well in class on that studio day. And then we basically blacked out those characters to show what the silhouette looked like. And I thought it was quite fun. Like the robot looks really cute. I kind of changed the design of the robot. I feel like the silhouette is really nice and really fun. And then the really buff girl that I was talking about, yeah, she looks really cool. Too, really muscly. I think it was really fun to make a character that was very masculine yet feminine at the same time. And yeah, she's just like the mixture of the two. And now introducing probably the most fun task of all was the character design brief. So if I didn't mention in my previous video, the whole of the first year, the theme was maritime. And this project was all about maritime. So the character design project meant that we had the freedom to create a character based on the theme of maritime. So we were given a bunch of different roles that a character may have if they were on a ship. And I picked the ship surgeon, and I thought it would just be a really fun, interesting thing to draw because it's kind of out of my comfort zone. And I decided to draw my character as an animal, and I picked jellyfish. So this is a jellyfish surgeon on a ship. We started off creating a mood board, having all the different designs and different pictures from the time period. Oh, can't remember what the time period was, but yeah, whenever pirates were around that time period, completely flew out of my mind. But a bunch of pictures that I found online, put them together as inspiration of what a surgeon and what a surgery would look like on a ship in those days, and the outfits they would have. So it was mainly like baggy trousers, overcoat, belts, and they'd have different weapons, of course. So then I just did a couple annotations around the drawings. Sorry, not the drawings, around the images, and then I moved on to drawings. So originally my character was actually going to be human, but then I was just like, that's too boring, I don't want that. So then I decided, you know what, just use a sea creature. And then I used my favorite show, SpongeBob SquarePants, and I took a lot of inspiration from that show and created what I call Dr. Jelly. Here is Dr. Jelly. And Dr. Jelly started out with a lot of little sketches, trying to figure out what outfit Dr. Jelly would have. I looked at, obviously, a lot of pictures of actual jellyfish and tried to make an original sort of looking design based on what a jellyfish would look like as a cartoon character. Obviously SpongeBob's done that, but I didn't go with that look. But yeah, the show was definitely a lot of help for this task. It's perfect because the whole show is like maritime themed. So for the animation project, we also had to create a environment design as well, and this one was actually a bit challenging. I don't often draw many backgrounds and stuff. It's mainly character designs that I like to do. So, this put me out of my comfort zone again. But again, we created a mood board of different objects and different images of what we would want our background to look like. So for me, my background would have been like the basement of a ship for my character's surgery. So the idea I had for my character's surgery was to have a lot of barrels in the background to represent my character's rum addiction. So there'd be a bunch of barrels, a really basic table in the middle of this like really poorly lit room, blood dripping everywhere, and just like used utensils and used doctor's equipment just scattered around the place. I just wanted it to look really unsanitary and just an awful looking doctor's surgery, which it would have been at that time. Medicine and technology hadn't advanced very much at all back then, so infection and stuff would have spread very easily. So I did like a little mood board showing different images and a little like inspiration of what I wanted to achieve, and also took some inspiration from SpongeBob as well. Mr. Krabs' house in particular, because he has a lot of like sailor memorabilia and a lot of rum bottles in it. No, rum barrels. Was it rum? Yeah, barrels in his basement. It wasn't rum, it's root beer in the show, but like yeah, I used his house as inspiration because he has a really cool looking house with loads of maritime themed stuff, so it was perfect for this brief. So I used the show and a lot of other images that I found online for inspiration for Dr. Jelly's surgery. And yeah, and then the task we had next was to do a lot of thumbnail sketches in my sketchbook of what the room would look like and what I wanted to include. So I just, had to go at drawing different bottles, different barrels, different equipment, treasure chests, the surgery table, loads of different things. And then I did some digital thumbnail sketches of what I wanted, like the perspective of the background. So I drew a couple of, I did 4 different perspective drawings of what I wanted my background to look like, and in the end I chose one where the table was closest to the camera, and the angle was it shows the entrance, so you can see the entrance to the surgery on the ship, but the closest object to you is the table. And it just shows how terrible the surgery is, because you have a view of the entire room and all the stuff that's laying around. And that leads me to the next part of this task, where you basically have to draw this background. So in the end it was a black and white drawing, but I really had to consider perspective, and then I used this tool on Krita that helped with perspective, but it's something I had not done before. I've done one background drawing before I started university. This was like the summer of maybe, I think 2020. Yeah. And now I look back at that drawing and it's like my perspective is not there at all. So this was a really big challenge for me, but I really enjoyed this task, surprisingly. I think the outcome was really good in the end. I'm happy with the way it turned out. What I wanted to do was actually draw the character on top of the background, because I thought that would have looked really cool, but I didn't get time to do that in the end. I really wanted to draw Dr. Jelly holding like a chainsaw up in the air at the end of the table, so that'd look really cool. But I didn't get to do that in the end. So lastly in the portfolio are some of the drawings that I did whilst on the trip to the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford. And during this trip we saw a lot of artifacts from both Egypt and India, including a lot of pottery. So I drew a lot of pots in my sketchbook, and these are all from Egypt. And then I also focused on a lot of the Hindu gods and deities from India, and just drew what I saw whilst at the museum, which was really nice, and it was really nice to have a trip. I think we've had 2 or 3 trips, I can't remember how many trips we've had now, but yeah, we have a trip here or there, which is really nice, but never been to Oxford before, so really cool. So those are some of my drawings. So now that you've seen my portfolio, I hope you really enjoyed seeing my work, and that this gives you a good understanding of what we do in first year at AUB. So yeah, this unit again was just character design, acting, posing, all that kind of thing, all very pre-production focused. And yeah, I hope that I conveyed that very well through this video. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below or message me on Instagram, which is REtunes. It's linked to this YouTube channel, so you can easily find me if you want to drop me a message. I'm happy to answer any questions. A lot of you have already messaged me, and I really love getting to talk to you and seeing where you want to go in animation as well. So with that, I gotta head to bed because it's like 1 a.m, past 1 a.m. now, and I've got classes, so I'm gonna sign off and head to bed. But thank you so much for watching this video, and part 3 will be coming soon, and then I'll share my second year stuff, which is really exciting and scary at the same time, because it's like I'm in second year and then I'm gonna be like here's my third year work. Crazy, right? But it's gonna be nice to look at and see how my art style and, you know, see how my art evolves over time. So stay tuned. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Bye!